Hi, this is Brad Oaster. Today we're going to talk about step number 5, which we call project phasing and putting together what's called phase 1 schematic drawings. Now, if you're looking to get out of your temporary facility, you're meeting a school or a YMCA somewhere, looking to get on a piece of land and to develop your phase 1 building, or maybe you've outgrown an existing building, you just need to expand or relocate. We want to talk about how do you go about phasing the development of that new site. When you acquire the land and you did your master site plan in previous phases, eventually you get to where you're phasing the project. It's kind of like how do you eat an elephant, right? I mean, it's one bite at a time. You always want to start with your property with a master site plan that shows the entire build out of the property, and you're not concerned about cost or anything when you do that. Okay, time will come in the future to worry about all that stuff, but you want to develop it in a way that you can accomplish your long-range vision for your ministry on that property. Then once you have that, you do phasing and say, okay, well, what's phase 1 of this? Where are we going to start? Years ago, I was asked by Scott Wilson and his dad at Oak Cliff Assembly of God in Dallas to come down and help them to revitalize their ministry. It had been a dynamic ministry back in the 80s and 90s in the Oak Cliff area, but the area had changed and the church had declined down, and so they asked me to come in and to help them out. When we did our strategic plan, we found that a lot of the young families were actually coming from down south on Highway 35, a town called Red Oak. Well, part of the solution that we came up with was to actually launch a new church in Red Oak, and that Scott Wilson, who was the youth pastor at the time when I was working with them, he would become co-pastor and he would lead that new congregation. So we went down to Red Oak and we found, I think it was about 40 acres. It's on the west side of Highway 35. We were able to acquire that property. We looked at a master site plan and how do we develop everything so that that church can become the mega church that Scott dreamed it would be. And then we did what we call project phasing. Our phase 1 was obviously a fairly small building, considering that they were just moving down there and getting started. But we knew in the future that that building would become our youth center. Well, it played out just exactly like that. If you look at the Oaks Fellowship is the name of the church. Scott Wilson's my friend and the pastor there. Today, they run 5,000–6,000 people. It is a huge mega church serving Red Oak in the southern part of the Dallas Metroplex. It's been a phenomenal ministry. But we knew going into it how to go about developing that. You're not going to build several thousand-seat auditorium in phase 1. Start with something that's functional, that works, that's affordable, that's a real asset for your ministry. And then as your ministry outgrows it, that just transitions into other uses. In this case, it's now the youth center. So you want to be careful on how you lay all that out. And you want to look at where do you put the buildings on the property. A lot of times churches will buy a piece of property and when they're young and they're just moving in and on all these expenses, they put the first building right up out front next to the street. Reason for that, cost less to run the utilities there from the street into the building. But you don't want to do that. You want to put your phase 1 building back somewhere so that later when you can afford it, you can put what you really want right out there for everybody to see. So you want to be careful in how you do your phase development. Then you do what's called schematics. Now schematics are just rough floor plans that show basically the footprint of the building, the floor plan, how it's going to function, what the outside looks like. That's called schematic designs. And as you develop those, you want to be working with a knowledgeable construction industry expert, either a builder, a project manager, somebody knows the cost in your area so that they can look at that and tell you if you're still on track with what your financial projections are that we did back in phase 4, okay, of the 10-step process. So think big, never underestimate God, okay, what he desires to do through your ministry. I would much rather be guilty of overestimating what God wants to do with a big, big plan and God going, gee, I'm only God. Who do you think I was, Brad? You know, you don't need that big, huge plan, right? I don't think that's going to happen. I'd rather have a big, hairy, audacious goal called the BHAG as we lay out that campus and then start with something that's very realistic for us to do. And then we've given God all the room to develop that campus, to grow the ministry, to do multiple services, to do venues in the future, spin-off daughter churches. But that's how we go about developing our phase development plan and our schematic designs. If I can help you with that, give me a call. My name's Brad Oaster. You can call me at 719-439-3019. Drop me an email, bradoaster@mac.com, or visit the website, bradoaster.com. And while you're there, check out our free resources. We've got a dozen ebooks for you that cover all these different steps. They go into a lot more detail than I can right here, but they're designed to equip, empower, and encourage you to go out and accomplish all that God has for you. Thank you very much.